The stellar diplomat hung motionless against the backdrop of Neptune's blue sphere, its modest fusion engines powered down in what appeared to be a gesture of peaceful intent. Admiral James Wilson stood on the bridge, his weathered hands clasped behind his back, as he watched the approaching Vraxian vessel through the main viewport. The alien ship dwarfed his own, its crystalline structure gleaming with purple energy that humans weren't supposed to understand. "Sir, they're hailing us again," Lieutenant Sarah Rodriguez reported from her communication station. "Supreme Commander Zextal is demanding to know why we sent such a primitive vessel to greet them." Wilson's lips twitched into the ghost of a smile. "Put him through, Lieutenant. Let's give our guests the show they're expecting." The holographic display flickered to life, revealing the towering form of Supreme Commander Zextal. The Vraxian's iridescent scales shifted through shades of green and gold, a sign of barely contained amusement that human intelligence had correctly interpreted months ago. "Admiral Wilson of Earth," Zextal's translator rendered his clicks and chirps into English. "I must confess disappointment. Your species achieves faster than light travel, yet you greet the mighty Vraxian Empire in what appears to be little more than a fusion-powered cargo hauler." Wilson adopted an expression of practiced humility. "Supreme Commander, we are honored by your presence. Earth's resources are limited, and this vessel represents the best we could provide for this historic meeting." Behind him, his bridge crew maintained their carefully choreographed performance. Ensign Michael Chen fumbled with his console, making it spark slightly, a deliberate malfunction designed to reinforce the impression of technological inadequacy. Through quantum-encrypted channels hidden beneath layers of obvious radio traffic, the entire encounter was being transmitted to Earth's War Council. Limited resources indeed. Zextal chortled, his scales now pulsing with bright gold, a sign of superior amusement. "Your ship's energy output barely registers on our sensors. Tell me, Admiral, how did such a modest species manage to achieve interstellar travel?" Wilson gestured to the engineered flaws in his ship's design. "We adapted our fusion technology through trial and error, Supreme Commander. It took us nearly 50 years to achieve reliable faster-than-light travel, though our range remains limited." The quantum transmitter beneath Wilson's console told a different story. Hidden in dimensional pockets throughout the solar system, Earth's true fleet stood ready. Ships equipped with technology reverse-engineered from a crashed Vraxian scout vessel found in the Atacama Desert 5 decades ago. "Fascinating." Zextal's scales rippled with predatory interest. "And your weapon systems? Surely you've developed some form of defense." "We maintain a small security force," Wilson replied, triggering another series of deliberate system fluctuations on his bridge, mostly to protect against spatial anomalies and asteroid threats. In the Saturn's rings, Commander Catherine Eclipse Martins received Wilson's coded transmission and silently ordered her stealth fleet to maintain position. Their quantum-linked gravity weapons remained powered down, hidden beneath layers of dimensional shielding that the Vraxians believed impossible for primitive species to achieve. "Your honesty is refreshing, Admiral," Zextal said, his translator failing to mask the condescension in his tone. "The Vraxian Empire appreciates forthright species. We will, of course, need to conduct a thorough survey of your territory. For diplomatic purposes, you understand." "Of course, Supreme Commander. Earth would be honored to host your survey teams." Wilson bowed slightly, even as his quantum transmitter relayed the final confirmation to Earth's hidden defenses. "We have nothing to hide." The communication ended, and Wilson watched the massive Vraxian vessel turn toward the inner solar system. His bridge crew maintained their act for several more minutes, generating false readings that any observation equipment would detect. "Message from War Council, sir," Lieutenant Rodriguez whispered. "Operation Trojan Horse is confirmed. All fleet elements are in position." Wilson nodded, watching the Vraxian ship's energy trail fade into the darkness. In their arrogance, they hadn't even bothered to leave observation drones behind. "Send my compliments to the Council, Lieutenant. Inform them that Supreme Commander Zextal performed exactly as our psychological profiles predicted." The greatest warships humanity had ever built remained hidden in their dimensional pockets, waiting for the moment when the Vraxian Empire would learn the cost of underestimating Earth. But for now, Admiral James Wilson stood on the bridge of his intentionally unimpressive vessel, playing the role of a primitive species grateful for the attention of a superior civilization. The game had begun, and the first move belonged to the Vraxians. They just didn't know they were playing yet. Commander Catherine Eclipse Martinez floated in the observation dome of the Shadow Fleet's flagship Nightshade, her eyes fixed on the distant spark of a Vraxian scout ship passing through the rings of Saturn. The vessel's powerful sensors swept through the debris field, passing straight through the dimensional pocket that concealed Earth's most advanced warship. "They're getting closer to Sector 7, Lieutenant David Parker reported from his tactical station. "Their scan patterns are becoming more thorough." "Let them look," Martines replied, her confidence evident in the slight smile playing across her lips. "All they'll find are ice fragments and sensor ghosts." The Nightshade's bridge hummed with quiet efficiency, a stark contrast to the intentionally chaotic communications flowing from Earth's official defense fleet. Through the quantum channels, she could hear the carefully scripted performances, ships fumbling their maneuvers, captains expressing exaggerated concern over the alien presence, and engineers discussing outdated fusion technology at unnecessarily high volumes. Message from Admiral Wilson. "Commander," Communications Officer Jennifer Hayes announced. "The Vraxian flagship is proceeding to Earth orbit. Supreme Commander Zextal has requested a formal meeting with the United Earth Government." Martinez nodded, watching as another scout ship passed barely a kilometer from their position. The Nightshade's dimensional shielding didn't even flicker. "Status of the fleet. All ships maintaining position," Parker responded. "Quantum-linked weapons are powered down but ready. The Starweaver and Duskbringer groups report their pocket spaces are stable and undetected." A young ensign at the environmental controls suddenly stiffened. "Commander, Vraxian Scout is altering course, heading directly for our coordinates." The bridge crew held their breath, but Martinez remained calm. She'd drilled them for this scenario countless times. The massive scout ship approached their position, its purple energy signature pulsing as it conducted deep-level scans of the surrounding space. "Steady," Martines ordered, watching the alien vessel grow larger in their view. "Lieutenant Hayes, make sure our quantum signature is completely masked." Parker, maintain dimensional stability. The scout ship passed through the exact space occupied by the Nightshade, its sensors finding nothing but empty void. The pocket dimension technology, reversed engineered from the crashed Vraxian ship and improved upon by human scientists, worked perfectly. "They're moving off," Parker reported, his voice steady despite the close call. No indication they detected anything unusual. Martinez allowed herself a small grin. "Send word to all fleet elements. Maintain current protocol. Let's give our visitors nothing but static and shadows." Through the quantum network, reports flowed in from Earth's other hidden vessels. The Starweaver group, concealed in the asteroid belt, reported successful evasion of Vraxian patrols. The Duskbringer squadron, hidden in Earth's orbital plane, continued to gather intelligence on the alien fleet's movements. "New transmission from Earth Command," Hayes announced. "The Vraxians have begun their survey of our orbital infrastructure." She paused. "Checking the data, they're actually offering technical advice on how to improve our primitive defense satellites." A quiet chuckle rippled through the bridge. The satellites in question were decoys, designed to be intentionally obsolete. Earth's real defense grid lay hidden beneath layers of dimensional shifting, watching and waiting. "Commander," Parker called out, his tone serious. "We're picking up energy signatures consistent with weapon systems charging on the Vraxian support ships. They're trying to hide it." But Martinez moved to his station, studying the readings. "They're getting ready for something. Send encrypted warning to all fleet elements. Be prepared for the facade to drop soon. The Vraxians aren't known for their patience." She returned to the observation dome, watching as more scout ships combed through Saturn's rings. Earth's greatest advantage lay in the enemy's overwhelming confidence in their own superiority. Every scan that failed to detect them, every dismissive assessment of Earth's capabilities, only reinforced that advantage. Message from Admiral Wilson, Hayes reported. The formal meeting with Earth's government is scheduled for tomorrow. The Vraxians are requesting we upgrade our communication systems to handle their superior transmission protocols. Acknowledge receipt, Martinez ordered, and send my compliments to our performance teams groundside. Keep feeding them exactly what they expect to see. The nightshade hung silently in its pocket of warped spacetime, surrounded by humanity's most powerful warships. Soon, the Vraxians would make their move, believing they faced a primitive species barely capable of interstellar flight. They would learn, far too late, that humanity's greatest weapon had always been the ability to appear harmless while preparing for war. Commander Martinez watched another scout ship pass by, her expression hardening. "Let them come," she whispered. "We're ready." The Vraxian invasion fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation, their crystalline ships arranging themselves in a ceremonial pattern that was meant to inspire awe and terror. Supreme Commander Zextal stood on his command deck, watching with barely contained glee as Earth's orbital stations erupted in a cascade of panicked transmissions. "Maximum spread on all scanner arrays," he ordered, scales flickering with anticipation. "Let us see how these primitives respond to a proper show of force." Below him, in Earth's orbit, Admiral Wilson coordinated what appeared to be a chaotic evacuation of the moon's facilities. His ship, the Stellar Diplomat, performed an ungainly series of evasive maneuvers that made several Vraxian bridge officers snicker. Supreme Commander, Captain Yexval reported from the sensor station. "Their ships are scattering. Most appear to be civilian vessels. Their military response is—" He paused, mandibles clicking in amusement, disorganized at best. Zextal's scales rippled with pleasure. "Send the prepared message. Let us see if they understand their situation." On the bridge of the Stellar Diplomat, Wilson received the Vraxian transmission with carefully practiced alarm. "This is Admiral Wilson to all Earth forces. Fall back to secondary positions. I repeat, fall back to secondary positions." His voice carried just the right amount of barely controlled fear. The Earth ships scattered like startled fish, their engines flaring erratically as they executed what looked like unpracticed emergency protocols. Several vessels nearly collided in their haste to retreat, causing more bursts of panicked communication. "Sir," Lieutenant Sarah Rodriguez called out, maintaining her role in the performance, "the lunar colony is requesting immediate evacuation support. Their systems are showing multiple failures." In reality, the lunar colony had been evacuated weeks ago, its visible population replaced by sophisticated holograms and automated systems. The real colonists now operated the quantum-linked weapon platforms hidden beneath the surface. Commander Marcus Phantom Thompson, leading the supposedly retreating Earth Defense Fleet, transmitted on an open channel. "This is Thompson to all vessels. Maintain course to the fallback points. Do not engage. I repeat, do not engage." His ships, intentionally designed to appear outdated and hastily armed, scattered in seemingly random directions. Each course, however, had been meticulously calculated to position them perfectly for the true battle to come. Supreme Commander, Captain Yexval suddenly straightened, his scales shifting to a concerned purple. "I'm detecting unusual energy fluctuations near their lunar base. The pattern is unfamiliar." Zextal dismissed the concern with a wave. "Their primitive fusion reactors are probably destabilizing under stress. Prepare the containment teams. We don't want them accidentally destroying valuable resources." The Vraxian fleet began its advance toward Earth's orbit, their formation maintaining the same ceremonial pattern. Not a single ship commander thought to question why Earth's forces were retreating in paths that, if mapped in 3 dimensions, created a perfect tactical encirclement. Message from Orbital Command. Rodriguez reported to Wilson, her voice carrying across open channels. "Sir, They're saying we should surrender immediately to prevent unnecessary loss of life." Wilson allowed genuine emotion to color his response. "This is Admiral Wilson to Earth Command. We understand. Begin shutdown of defensive systems. May God help us all." The performance would have won awards on any stage. In the darkness of space, hidden in their dimensional pockets, Earth's true fleet watched and waited. Commander Martinez on the Nightshade sent a quantum-encrypted message to all ships. "Combat protocols engage. Weapon systems online. Prepare for dimensional shift on my mark." The Vraxian fleet moved closer, their sensors detecting nothing but frightened humans and failing technology. Supreme Commander Zextal was already composing his victory speech, unaware that every retreating Earth ship was precisely where it needed to be. Energy fluctuations increasing from the lunar surface, Captain Yexvol reported again, his concern growing. "Sir, these readings, something isn't right." "Your concern for primitive technology is noted, Captain," Zextal replied dismissively. "Begin the containment sequence. Let's show these humans how a proper military operation is conducted." The trap was set. Earth's ships continued their apparently chaotic retreat, each movement bringing them closer to their predetermined positions. In dimensional pockets throughout the solar system, humanity's most advanced weapons waited for the signal. Admiral Wilson watched the Vraxian fleet advance, knowing that in their arrogance, they had already lost. The real battle was about to begin, and only one side knew it was coming. Lieutenant Michael "Mad Dog" Rodriguez gripped his command chair as the Shadow Strike hung suspended in its dimensional pocket, watching the Vraxian fleet through sensors that shouldn't have existed. His ship, along with 30 others in Strike Group Alpha, waited in the spaces between normal spacetime, ready to deliver humanity's first devastating blow. Dimensional stability at 100%. Lieutenant Sarah Cooper reported from her station. Quantum-linked weapons primed and tracking multiple targets. Rodriguez nodded, his eyes fixed on the tactical display, showing the Vraxian fleet's ceremonial formation. Supreme Commander Zextal's arrogance had led him to maintain the traditional attack pattern, creating perfect gaps for Earth's ships to exploit. Signal from Admiral Wilson. Communications Officer James Chen announced. Message reads, "The hunter becomes the prey." "That's our go code, sir." Rodriguez straightened in his chair. "All hands, prepare for dimensional shift. Weapons teams, confirm targeting solutions. Remember your training. We get one chance at a perfect first strike." The bridge crew worked with practiced precision, their movements betraying none of the chaos displayed by Earth's decoy fleet. Through the view screen, Rodriguez watched as another Vraxian cruiser passed through their occupied space, completely unaware of the predator in its midst. "Strike Group Alpha reports ready," Cooper announced. All ships showing green across all systems. Rodriguez took a deep breath. "Send to all ships. Execute Operation Thunderstrike on my mark." He waited 3 heartbeats, watching the Vraxian formation reach its most vulnerable position. Mark. Reality twisted as 31 Earth warships suddenly existed where nothing had been before. A shadow strike materialized directly behind a Vraxian heavy cruiser, its quantum-linked weapons already firing. Brilliant beams of energy, focused through multiple dimensions simultaneously, struck the alien vessel at impossible angles. Direct hits on primary target. Weapons Officer Lisa Martinez called out. Their shields are attempting to adapt, but the multi-dimensional attack is bypassing their defenses. The Vraxian fleet's perfect formation dissolved into chaos. Ships tried to turn and fight, but Earth vessels seemed to appear and disappear at will, striking from positions that defied conventional spacetime physics. Supreme Commander Zextal is ordering a defensive regrouping, Chen reported, monitoring the enemy communications. They're trying to figure out where we came from. Rodriguez allowed himself a grim smile. Show them where we are. All ships, execute attack pattern Delta 7. The Shadow Strike and its companion vessels performed a synchronized dimensional shift, reappearing in a perfect sphere around the Vraxian command ship. Their weapons fired simultaneously, each beam striking from a slightly different dimensional plane, overwhelming the alien vessel's supposedly superior shielding. Multiple confirmed hits, Martins announced. Enemy flagship's primary systems are failing. They're attempting to launch fighters, but their launch bays are damaged. Through the quantum network, Rodriguez could hear similar reports from other Earth ship commanders. The carefully choreographed attack was proceeding exactly as planned, with human vessels appearing where they were least expected and vanishing before the enemy could effectively respond. "Sir, detecting energy buildup in the enemy fleet," Cooper warned. "They're preparing to fire their main weapon arrays." "Exactly as expected," Rodriguez replied. "Execute Phase 2. Let's show them why assuming we're primitive was their last mistake." The Shadow Strike's quantum systems engaged, creating a localized dimensional fold that caused the incoming Vraxian energy weapons to strike their own ships. 3 alien cruisers disappeared in spectacular explosions as their own firepower was turned against them. "Enemy fleet is in disarray," Chen reported, unable to keep the satisfaction from his voice. "They're trying to regroup, but our dimensional shifts are preventing any effective formation." Rodriguez opened a channel to his strike group. "All ships, continue the attack pattern. Remember your training. Don't get greedy, stick to the plan. We're not here to destroy them, just to demonstrate why they should have looked closer at those primitive ships." The battle continued around them, with Earth ships appearing and disappearing like ghosts, striking from impossible angles and vanishing before retaliation could find them. The mighty Vraxian fleet, which had arrived expecting an easy victory, found itself fighting an enemy that seemed to bend reality itself. "Message from Admiral Wilson," Chen announced. "Phase 1 is complete. All strike groups report successful engagement. We're to maintain pressure while Phase 2 begins." Rodriguez watched as another Vraxian ship succumbed to multi-dimensional attacks. "Acknowledge the order, and send to all ships. The mouse is done roaring. Now it's time to show them our teeth." Captain Diana Phoenix Wright watched from the bridge of the Stormweaver as space itself seemed to fold around her target. The Vraxian battlecruiser, caught in the grip of her ship's quantum-linked gravity weapons, twisted impossibly as multiple dimensions intersected through its hull. "Target structural integrity failing," Weapons Officer Mark Anderson reported. "Their shield harmonics are unable to adapt to the dimensional stress." Through the main viewport, Wright observed the once mighty alien vessel collapse in on itself, crushed by forces its designers had never imagined possible. The remaining Vraxian ships attempted to maintain formation, but their rigid battle doctrine proved useless against an enemy that ignored conventional physics. "Message from Commander Thompson," Communications Officer Emma Torres announced. "The Nightwing and Starbound have successfully trapped 3 enemy destroyers in temporal bubbles. They're requesting supporting fire." Wright nodded sharply. "Take us in. Execute maneuver pattern ghost sticks. Let's show them another trick." The Stormweaver's engines pulsed with dark energy as it shifted between dimensional planes, appearing simultaneously at 3 different attack vectors around the trapped Vraxian ships. The effect, Wright knew, would make it seem like her single vessel had somehow split into 3. "Multiple targeting solutions acquired," Anderson called out. "Quantum cannons locked on all 3 targets. Supreme Commander Zextal is broadcasting on all frequencies," Torres reported, a hint of satisfaction in her voice. "He's demanding to know how primitive fusion drives are achieving these maneuvers." Wright allowed herself a thin smile. "Send no response. Actions speak louder than words. Fire quantum cannons, full spread." The Stormweaver's weapons released their payload from 3 different dimensional planes simultaneously. The trapped Vraxian ships, already struggling against the temporal bubbles, found their shields assaulted by weapons that seemed to ignore the very laws of physics. "Direct hits confirmed," Anderson announced. "Enemy vessels are, sir, they're attempting to jump to hyperspace." "Let them try," Wright ordered, knowing what would happen next. The Vraxian ship's hyperspace drives engaged, but the temporal bubbles corrupted their jump calculations. Instead of escaping, they found themselves trapped between dimensions, their mighty engines useless against humanity's superior understanding of spacetime. Quantum sensors detecting massive energy buildup in the enemy fleet, Science Officer James Chen reported. They're redirecting power to their main weapon arrays. Wright had been waiting for this. Signal all ships in range. Execute Operation Mirror Wall. The space around the Stormweaver rippled as dozens of hidden Earth vessels revealed themselves, each positioned at precisely calculated points. As the Vraxian fleet unleashed their energy weapons, the human ships created a complex web of dimensional pockets that caught the incoming fire and redirected it back at the attackers. Enemy flagship is taking evasive action, Anderson reported. They're finally abandoning their ceremonial formation protocols. Too late, Wright murmured, watching as the redirected energy tore through the Vraxian fleet's own shields. Signal the Starborn and Nightwing. Begin Phase 3 of the temporal net. The battle space became a dance of light and shadow as Earth's ships moved with perfect coordination, each maneuver calculated to maximize the effectiveness of their dimensional technology. Vraxian vessels found themselves fighting enemies that could attack from any angle, at any time, often appearing to be in multiple places at once. "Captain," Torres called out, "we're intercepting communications from the Vraxian command staff." "There?" She paused, listening intently. "They're arguing about whether we've been hiding our true capabilities, or if we developed them specifically to counter their technology." "Both," Wright replied, watching another enemy ship vanish into a dimensional pocket. "Send to all ships. Maintain pressure, but remember the Admiral's orders. We're here to teach a lesson, not start a war." The Stormweaver continued its deadly dance through space, its movements synchronized with dozens of other Earth vessels in a ballet of precisely calculated destruction. Each strike demonstrated another aspect of humanity's supposed primitive technology, systematically dismantling the Vraxian fleet's assumptions about their superiority. "Enemy ships are beginning to retreat," Anderson reported. "Their formation is completely broken." Wright nodded, satisfaction evident in her expression. "Signal Admiral Wilson. Phase 5 is complete. The Vraxians have learned that size isn't everything, and that humans are very, very good at hiding their strengths until the perfect moment." Around them, space continued to twist and fold as Earth's fleet demonstrated just how dangerous an insignificant species could be. Colonel Marcus "Ghost" Thompson stood at the helm of the Shadowleap, watching Supreme Commander Zextal's desperate attempts to regain control of the battle. The Vraxian leader's flagship, once resplendent in its crystalline glory, now bore the scars of multiple dimensional attacks. "They're charging their primary weapon systems," Lieutenant Rebecca Chen reported from Tactical. "Energy readings are off the scale. They're overriding all safety protocols." Thompson nodded grimly. "Just as our intelligence suggested they would. Pride makes for predictable enemies. Signal the stealth team. Operation Mirror is go." Hidden throughout the battlefield, 5 Earth vessels equipped with specialized quantum arrays waited for this moment. The Vraxians' most powerful weapons, about to be turned against them, would demonstrate the full cost of their arrogance. "Enemy flagship beginning weapon sequence," Chen announced. "Their target is, they're aiming for the moon's defense stations." Transmission from Zextal, Communications Officer Peter Nash called out. "He's demanding our immediate surrender, claiming their next strike will, quote, reduce your primitive defenses to their constituent atoms." Thompson allowed himself a small smile. "Send no response. Execute Operation Mirror on my mark." He watched the energy readings climb on his tactical display, waiting for the perfect moment. Mark. The stealth team's ships activated their quantum arrays simultaneously. As the Vraxian fleet unleashed their devastating weapon barrage, the space between the armies seemed to twist. The massive energy beams struck an invisible barrier of warped spacetime and curved impossibly, turning back toward their sources. "Quantum mirrors holding stable," Chen reported. Enemy fire redirected with 97% efficiency. The Vraxian fleet erupted in chaos as their own weapons struck their shields. Ships designed to deliver overwhelming firepower found themselves on the receiving end of their full destructive potential. Shields failed, crystalline hulls cracked, and proud vessels began to break apart. Multiple enemy ships reporting critical system failures, Nash announced. They're trying to power down their weapons, but the feedback loops are already established. Thompson opened a channel to his stealth team. Maintain mirror stability. Let them see exactly what their superior weapons can do. Through the quantum network, he could hear the panic in Vraxian communications as ship after ship discovered their weapons had become useless, or worse, dangerous to activate. Supreme Commander Zextal's voice rang out over the channels, his translator struggling to keep up with his increasingly frantic orders. "Sir," Chen called out, detecting multiple power surges throughout the enemy fleet. "They're attempting to reconfigure their weapon systems, but they can't," Thompson finished, "because we've spent decades studying exactly how their technology works. Signal the Nightweaver and Dawnbreak. Begin Phase 2 of the operation." Two more Earth ships emerged from dimensional pockets, their quantum arrays targeting the enemy fleet's power distribution networks. The technology, reverse-engineered from that crashed scout ship so many years ago, had been specifically designed to exploit the weaknesses in Vraxian engineering. "Enemy flagship is attempting to coordinate a counterattack," Nash reported. "They're ordering all ships to switch to secondary weapon systems." "Let them," Thompson replied. "They still haven't realized that every weapon they possess was compromised before the battle began." The space around them lit up with desperate salvos from the Vraxian fleet, each shot either missing wildly or being reflected back by the quantum mirrors. Ships that had arrived expecting an easy victory now found themselves trapped in a tactical nightmare of their own making. "Message from Admiral Wilson," Nash announced. "Phase 6 is complete. We're to maintain pressure but prepare for the final stage." Thompson watched as another Vraxian cruiser's weapons overloaded, its crystalline structure shattering from within. "Acknowledge the order. Signal all ships, maintain current positions, and continue Operation Mirror. Let's make sure Supreme Commander Zextal understands exactly how costly his pride has become." The battle continued around them, but it had ceased to be a fight and become instead a demonstration. Every shot fired by the Vraxian fleet, every attempted maneuver, every desperate tactic only served to further prove humanity's superiority in the one area that mattered most: understanding their enemy. "Sir," Chen reported with a hint of satisfaction, "enemy flagship is powering down all weapon systems. They're requesting terms." Thompson nodded slowly. "Signal Admiral Wilson. Tell him the lesson has been learned. The price of pride has been paid in full." Admiral James Wilson stood on the bridge of his no longer disguised stellar diplomat as the Vraxian reinforcement fleet emerged from hyperspace. The alien armada, 3 times the size of the first invasion force, dropped into normal space expecting to find a battle in progress. Instead, they encountered a graveyard of disabled ships and a demonstration of power that defied their understanding. "Multiple hyperspace signatures detected," Lieutenant Rodriguez reported. "They're arriving in attack formation, and they've just frozen in place." The new Vraxian fleet hung motionless, their weapons powered but unused as they observed their advance force trapped in temporal bubbles. Dozens of proud warships suspended in various states of destruction, their crystalline hulls fractured by their own reflected energy weapons. "They're broadcasting on all frequencies," Communications Officer Hayes announced. "Admiral, I believe it's High Commander Vexnor himself." "Put him through," Wilson ordered, straightening his uniform. The time for playing the primitive had passed. The holographic display flickered to life, showing a Vraxian officer whose scales shifted through patterns of disbelief and rage. "This is High Commander Vexnor of the Imperial Fleet. What sorcery is this? What have you done to our ships?" Wilson's reply was calm, measured. "No sorcery, High Commander. Just the application of technologies you assumed we couldn't possess. Perhaps Supreme Commander Zextal would like to explain his miscalculation. Sir, Rodriguez interrupted, detecting power spikes across the reinforcement fleet. They're charging weapons. Predictable, Wilson sighed. Commander Martinez, you may proceed with Operation Endgame. The space around the Vraxian reinforcements suddenly came alive. The Nightshade and 30 other Earth warships emerged from their dimensional pockets, appearing at precisely calculated points around the alien fleet. Each human vessel simultaneously existed in multiple time streams, making them appear to multiply before the enemy sensors. By the First Empire, Vexnor breathed, his scales paling. How are you executing temporal warfare with fusion drives? An interesting assumption, Wilson replied as more Earth ships revealed themselves, each demonstrating another aspect of humanity's true capabilities. One of many mistakes your forces made today. The stellar diplomat's disguise fell away, quantum fields rippling as its true form emerged. The supposedly primitive diplomatic vessel transformed into one of Earth's most advanced warships, its hull bristling with technology that had remained hidden in dimensional pockets. Message from Commander Martinez, Hayes reported. All ships report ready for synchronized temporal strike. Wilson addressed Vexnor again. Your reinforcements have two choices, High Commander. You can power down your weapons and open diplomatic channels, or you can join your advanced fleet in discovering exactly how much damage your own technology can do when properly understood and redirected. Through the quantum network, Wilson could hear the chaos erupting across the Vraxian command channels. Ships that had arrived expecting to rescue their comrades now found themselves surrounded by an enemy that could attack from any point in space-time simultaneously. This is impossible, Vexnor protested. Our sensors show your ships existing in multiple temporal states at once. No species has mastered such technology. Correction, Wilson replied. No species you know of has mastered it. Earth has spent decades preparing for this moment, High Commander. Every primitive fusion drive, every clumsy maneuver, every apparent technological limitation was carefully crafted to create precisely this situation. As if to emphasize his point, the Nightshade executed a complex dimensional maneuver that left after images across multiple planes of existence. The demonstration caused several Vraxian sensor arrays to overload and shut down. Sir, Rodriguez reported, enemy fleet is powering down weapons. They're requesting immediate ceasefire. Wilson nodded slowly. Signal all ships. Maintain temporal containment, but do not engage unless fired upon. And send to Commander Martinez. Operation Endgame is complete. The board is clear. The space between Earth and lunar orbit had become a testament to the danger of underestimating humanity. Disabled Vraxian ships hung in temporal stasis, their own weapons turned against them. While Earth's fleet demonstrated mastery over dimensions the enemy had thought impossible to manipulate. High Commander, Wilson addressed Vexnor one final time. I believe it's time we discuss the future of human-Vraxian relations, perhaps without assumptions about primitive fusion drives. The battle was over. In the void between worlds, humanity had proven that appearances could be deceiving, and that the most dangerous predator was the one you never saw coming until it was too late. The conference room aboard the Stellar Diplomat held an atmosphere thick with tension. Admiral James Wilson sat at one end of the polished table, facing Supreme Commander Zextal and High Commander Vexnor. The once proud Vraxian leader's scales had dulled to a muted gray, their earlier arrogance replaced by a wary respect. Let me be clear, Wilson began, activating a holographic display that showed Earth's true fleet deployment throughout the solar system. What you witnessed today was not the full extent of our capabilities, merely a demonstration of why assumptions can be deadly in space. How long? Zextal asked, his translator struggling to convey the complex emotions in his voice. How long have you been preparing for this? Wilson touched a control, and a hologram shifted to show the crashed scout ship from 50 years ago. Since we found this in the Atacama Desert, your people's first attempt to survey Earth, I believe. The pilot died in the crash, but the technology survived. Impossible, Vexnor interrupted. That vessel's systems would have been too advanced for your species to comprehend, let alone reverse engineer. Commander Catherine Martinez, standing by the door, allowed herself a small smile. With all due respect, High Commander, your people's greatest weakness is your certainty in your own superiority. We didn't just understand your technology. We improved upon it. The hologram changed again, showing the dimensional pocket technology that had proven so devastating in battle. Earth ships appeared and disappeared, demonstrating maneuvers that the Vraxian commanders still struggle to accept as possible. Our scientists spent decades studying that crashed ship, Wilson continued. But more importantly, we studied you, your tactics, your technology, your cultural beliefs. Every move you made today was predicted, planned for, and countered before you even arrived in our system. And now? Zextal asked, his scales shifting slightly toward blue, a sign of grudging acceptance. What does Earth demand in victory? Wilson leaned forward. Not what you might expect. Supreme Commander, we don't want territory, technology, or reparations. What we want is partnership. The Vraxian leader's scales flickered in surprise as Wilson continued. Earth could have destroyed your fleet today. Instead, we chose to demonstrate why cooperation would be more beneficial than conflict. Martinez stepped forward, activating another holographic display. Our analysis suggests that combining Vraxian crystal technology with our dimensional engineering could revolutionize space travel. Together, we could achieve things neither of our species could manage alone. You offer partnership. Vexnor's translator crackled with disbelief. After we attempted invasion. We offer a future, Wilson corrected. One where both our species learn from today's lessons. You've seen what humanity can do when threatened. Now see what we can accomplish as allies. The holographic display filled with technical specifications and theoretical models, showing the potential of combined human and Vraxian technology. Projects that could reshape the galaxy if both species work together. There will be those in the Empire who won't accept this, Zextal warned, though his scales have begun shifting toward more optimistic colors. Just as there are humans who will question allying with those who tried to conquer us, Wilson acknowledged. But we believe the benefits outweigh the risks. The question is, do you have the courage to admit error and move forward? A long moment of silence filled the conference room. Finally, Zextal's scales shifted to a deep blue of commitment. The Empire has existed for 10,000 years because we learned to recognize strength. Today, humanity proved itself stronger than we imagined possible. We would be fools to reject your offer. Wilson stood, extending his hand in the human gesture of agreement. Then let today be remembered not as the day humanity defeated the Vraxian Empire, but as the day both our species chose a better path. As the Vraxian leaders rose to accept the gesture, Martin sent a quantum transmission to Earth's hidden fleets. Stand down from combat positions. Operation Tomorrow is now in effect. Throughout the solar system, Earth's ships emerged from their dimensional pockets, no longer hiding their true nature. The deception was over, replaced by the promise of cooperation between two powerful species who had learned that strength comes in many forms. Admiral Wilson, Zextal said as they prepared to formalize the agreement, I believe I owe you an apology about Earth's ships being insignificant. Wilson smiled. No apology needed, Supreme Commander. After all, the best ships are the ones your enemy never sees coming.